made it like back at the beginning of August. I had to. I was at their house and I said one day I was telling my sister I was like, yeah, I really want to make a podium. My husband doesn't want to because he says it's going to take too long. Because I like to start projects and then take forever to finish them. It's the end of October and he took wood that he had at the house. He's like, I didn't waste any money on it. I already had all the wood he had at home. Like, I just wasted, or I just it took me a couple hours. If you don't like it, I just wasted a couple hours. Yeah. All right. So special factoring, difference of two squares. What happens whenever you multiply x plus y times x minus y? What would you get? Wait. Which is what? X squared minus y squared. So you can have something where it says x squared minus y squared, and if it asks you to factor it, it's x minus y times x plus y. Does that make sense? Yes. Distribute. Distribute. Does that make sense? Okay. So we want to solve by factoring. Well, first we need to factor. Is that how it factors? What is the square root of 4x squared? 2x. What is the square root of 9? And then the signs are different. That's all you do to factor. So 2x plus 3 equals 0. And what else? 2x minus 3 equals 0. So 2x equals what? So x equals negative 3 over 2. And 2x equals what? And x equals 3 over 2. Do you have to put both of those answers? Yes. If you only put one, it's going to be negative 3 halves and 3 halves. This factors into 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. Take the square root of each of these. Any other questions on this one? Okay. Looking at a rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram with all four congruent sides. What other parallelogram do you know that has four congruent sides? A square. But what else do we know about a square? Yeah, right angles, four right angles. Does a rhombus have to have four right angles? No, a rhombus just has the four congruent sides. The diagonals of a rhombus bisect the angles. What that means, this angle is congruent to this angle. And this angle is congruent to that angle. Does that make sense? What did we learn about parallelograms last time? Did we talk about parallelograms? What did we learn about opposite angles? Do they equal 180? They're the same. Whatever this angle is equals this angle. Whatever this angle is equals this angle. That's in a circle. So if these angles added up equal these two angles, what does that mean about this angle and that angle? So these four angles are the same. Does that make sense? These two have to equal each other, and if they're both bisected, those all four equal each other. If this is 50 and that's 50, what is half of 50? These are each 25, and these are each 25. What does bisect mean? If these two angles are equal, what do these two have to be? And those four all equal each other. Yes. Any questions on the angles being bisected by the diagonals? Okay. The diagonals are also perpendicular to each other. So that rhombus, how many triangles are in the rhombus? 4. And what do we know about all 4 of those triangles? They're all right triangles. It's like a diamond. Any questions on these 3? Well, I mean, you could make it into 2, 1 and 2. But there are 4 little triangles, and they're all right. Does that make sense? All right. So it tells us that this is a rhombus. So what does that mean about the sides? It is not a square. The sides are equal. What else do we know if it is a rhombus? These two equals these two. What else do we know? These two angles up here equal these two down here. Does that make sense? And what else do we know? C has to be a right angle. Those are the 3 properties. Does that make sense? They're all right triangles. Yeah. Okay, so what does C have to be? That's the easiest one, right? Okay, the 280, what is it talking about? Is it talking about the whole angle? The outside part, this part right here. Does that make sense? So what equation could I set up to find? Yeah, put one variable to start with. And d equals x plus a. And what do we know about x and a? So x equals a, right? You can use any of those that you need to. What does d have to be? Does that make sense? So how would we figure out what x and a equals? X equals a, which equals 40 degrees. That's usually how they're going to write it on your answer sheet. If you want to write x equals 40 and a equals 40, that's fine. That's how I'm going to write it on my test. I don't really care. You can do it either way. Does that make sense? Y'all see where the 40 came from? Okay. How are we going to find k and b? 40, right? This is 90. So what does K have to be? Do you agree that K has to be 50? So what does B have to be? B also has to be 50. What you were doing, Miranda, I think would have worked. Pretty sure. Yeah. You could also say consecutive angles are equal to 180. So this angle plus this angle equals 180. What is this angle right here? 80 plus what gives you 180? Half of 100 is 50. There are a lot of different ways you can figure them out. You didn't have to start with C. You could have started with another series. Does that make sense, though? Any questions on these? Okay. Go ahead and